So we're going to talk about graphing equations. I will have a couple things to look at and make sure they're on the camera, and we'll go step by step. So graphing equations, we're going to go from the equation to graphing and from graphing to the equations. So let's get started. First things first, here are the formulas we're going to be using, the different equations. Go ahead and pause the video to write them down so we can use them for later. So different formulas we have are the slope-intercept formula. Right, so it's y equals mx plus b. We know that the x is the slope and the b is the y-intercept. Right, so the slope is how much the line goes up and down, left and right, and the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. Okay, our second formula is the slope. Okay, so we know that's the rise over the run. Rise is up and down, and the run is left and right. If they gave us 2 points, we know we could have the 2 points like this, A and B. Right? And we would label those. Let's say the points were 1, 2, and 3, 4. We label those points x1, y1, x2, y2, and go ahead and replace them where necessary. So the 4 would go into y2, 2 to y1, 3, x2, 1, x1. Okay, that would do the formula. And then the last thing we need to remember is y-intercepts, big thing. So whenever we plot the y-intercept, it's always going to have a 0 for the x value and whatever number that it crosses the axis for the y value. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so first we're going to go from the formula to the graph. So when they give us the equation, how do we go from this to the graph? So it's a two-step process. First, we want to plot the intercept, and then the second step is to use the slope to find another point. So just a reminder, the M stands for slope, and the B stands for the y-intercept. Remember, we always write the y-intercept as 0b, whatever this b is. Okay, so we look at our first example, and we have y equals 2/3 x plus 1. So this 2/3 is m, right? So m equals 2/3, and the 1 is the b. Okay, so our first step is to plot the y-intercept. So b equals 1. We write that as an ordered pair. 0, 1, right? 0 is the x, 1 is the y. So we pull out our graph. Okay, here's a graph. You can see it. I'm going to move this up a little bit. So first step, plot the y-intercept. So we're going to plot 0, 1. So we start at the origin. 0 for the x and 1 for the y right here. All right, what's step 2? Step 2 is to use the slope to find another point. So our slope is 2/3. So 2/3 equals rise over run. So we go up 2 and over 3. So we rose 2, 1, 2. And we're going to run 3. 1, 2, 3. Right? And 2 points make a graph, so we draw the line through it. Simple as that. When they give us the equation first, and they ask us to plot, all we have to do is do the intercept first, then use the slope to find another point. All right, let's do a few more examples. Okay, here we are. This first example, we have y equals negative 1/2 x minus 2. So first step, plot the y-intercept. What is the y-intercept? This whole thing, right? Let's write it as an ordered pair. Remember, it's 0, whatever this is. You see the negative sign? We have to take that with us. So 0, negative 2. So let's plot that on our graph. So we start at the origin. 0 doesn't move any, and then negative 2 is down 2. All right, there we are. There's our starting point. And the second step is to use the slope. What's the slope? Slope is the m, right? mx plus b. So slope is negative 1 over 2. Rise over run. We have to be careful because it's a negative 1. So instead of going up, we're going down. So negative 1, go down 1, and then we go over 2. 1, 2. Okay, so we went down 1, over 2. And then you connect them. Double checking that we have a negative slope, right? So if we had a ball here, you push it down, it's negative. And the last example, switch it over here, make sure you can see that. Let me fold this real quick. Okay, the last example. Why don't you pause it and try it for yourself first, and then we'll keep going. Okay, so we plot the intercept. So this is the intercept. We say 0, 2. And then what's the slope? 3. Got ahead of myself, sorry. Okay, so we plot the 0, 2. Great, first step down, and then use the slope. What do we remember when we have whole numbers, right? We put a 1 over it, because 3 divided by 1 is still 3. So from this, we start at the point, and we rise 3, and run 1. So 1, 2, 3, and 1. And then we connect the points. Great, so that's when they give us the equation and ask us to graph. What about the other way around? What if they give us the graph and ask us for the equation? So let's look at that. So this is from the graph to the formula. So the question would give us something like this and say, write the formula for this graph. So again, it's a two-step process. We're always looking at the slope and the intercept. So I look at this graph and I say to myself, what is the slope? So to find slope, we need 2 points. And we can just count the rise and the run. And then we say, what is the y-intercept? So where does it intercept this axis? And we also know it's always 0 and then b. So we're going from this to this equation. Okay, so they give us this, so we're trying to get to here. So the y and the x are going to stay the same. So we're really only looking for the m and the b. So once we find the slope, we put it there. Once we find the b, we put it there. All right, let's do some examples. Okay, so here's our first one. You can see the graph. Okay, so here we are. This is our end goal, and they gave us this to start. So first question is, what is the slope? So to find slope, we need 2 points. So we have this point right here, and this point right here. So we do rise over run. Okay, so what is it rising? So we start at the farthest point to the left. So we go down 2, so down 2, minus 2, down 2. How many are we going over? 1, 2, and we're going over 2. So that's our slope right there. And what's the y-intercept? Where does it cross the y-axis? Right here. And what is that point? That point is 0, 4, right? So the 0, this is really the b, right? So b equals 4. This up here equals m. So all we have to do is replace them down here. So y equals, what is the m? Negative 2 over 2. and the b is 4. Great. One more example, and then we are finished. Okay, let's look at this one. So, first step, what's the slope? So we have our 2 points, right? This one and this one. So let's do it. Rise over run. So we rise how many? 1, 2, right? 1, 2. And then how many do we run? 1, 2, 3. There's our slope. It's the m. And then the second step is, what is the intercept? B. So where does it cross the y-axis? So what is that point? That's 0, -1. Very important to put the negative so we don't forget. Okay, all you have to do is plug in, replace the m down here and the b down here. So we have 2/3, and this is a -1, right? So plus a minus is really just subtraction. So we have y equals 2/3 x minus 1. The b and the m. Right, that's how you go from equation to graph and graph to equation.